Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a beautiful Tuesday morning. Weatherman says we got a little bit of a cold front that's coming down through. Drop some humidity. Take a few degrees off the heat. We like to welcome you to Tuesday, one day before the hump. I'm Chairman Will. And we're going to do sort of a abbreviated edition of the show today. I have another, a commitment in I guess we're participating in a discussion, kind of a roundtable thing. And I'll have to cut the show a bit short today. Hopefully we'll get in all of our thoughts and realize that we can go out into the world and make it a better place. I'm not sure whether or not this event that I'll be attending has, whether it'll be podcast or taped or delayed or live, I'm unsure. But my feelings are when called upon, salute and march. So today, and for many of you who are out there thinking, oh, here we go, he's going to talk about Mueller. Not going to do that today. I'm going to try not to even bring up this thing that we're having tomorrow with Mr. Mueller testifying before the House and the Senate. Have just a few thoughts. I said I wasn't going to say anything. Problem about that for me is, or the issue that I may have, is that there's a lot of senators and representatives on this on these committees, and I think the way, and I'll have to wait and see, but currently, my thought about the way it's going to be handled is there's not really going to be enough time between each representative or senator to perhaps get to the integral parts of the Mueller investigation. My preference would be, let's say, for example, the senior members, of which maybe you might, if you have 2 hours, maybe you select 4 or 5, and each person or each senator or representative would have more time to deal more in depth in terms of questioning, responses, and maybe some rebuttal. Because to me, there's just not going to be enough time to get a full airing. I mean, if you think about it, this is a 448-page report, of which many of us have not read. And I know people, or some people, who may say that it's like the difference between you read the book and you see the movie. The movie is more telling, it's more descriptive of what the actual events were. So this is sort of like Ladies' Day on the show. So any music that you perhaps may be hearing in the background, that is Empire State of Mind. And that's someone I love, and that's Alicia Keys. But in terms of the discussion of this 448-page report, I think, and again, in all deference, to the reports, the Democrats and the Republicans have been holding kind of mock hearings. So I'm not indicating by no stretch of the imagination that these women and men, or these gentlemen and women, will be, how do I say, unprepared. So it'll go like that. But it's just my feeling that the seniors, I mean, if you are a representative or a senator and you just got on the committee, you are, pretty much a freshman on that committee, and I hate to use the word rookie, but I kind of do everything according to an athletic kind of point of view. I mean, if I was a rookie point or swing guard for the Los Angeles Lakers, I would assume that Anthony Davis and LeBron James would be the leaders of that team until I got some seniority and learned how to be a professional basketball player, both on and off the court. So you have these locker room situations where those representatives who are quote unquote the elders, I mean, they've been on that team or they've been on that committee, let them have it. So that is my wish for the manner in which these hearings should occur. And so, and again, it's, you agree, you disagree, but I always try to put my feelings out there into the marketplace, and my opinions, of course, so that the listening audience will definitely know where I'm coming from. Now, my latest, I guess, rant, and possibly has my shorts all in a bunch, is the Squad. Okay, I love that name. Because to me that's athletic. The Squad. It's sort of like, it's almost intimidating, But it's 4 of them. Lovely ladies. Like I said, this is Women's and Ladies Day. And yeah, they're necessary. I'm going to say they're representing the progressive wing of the Democratic Party very forcefully. And on the other side, our president, Donald John Trump, is taking this opportunity and kind of letting the air out of the room. In other words, Mueller will be testifying tomorrow. And Donald Trump's whole thing, okay, is kind of making an attempt to control the narrative in the media. And he does a very good job of it. Or Democrats don't do a good job of it at all. To counter it. What do you mean by that? You say, Chairman, we have to voice, our opinions, as representatives, because we were elected by the people of those districts. I agree. I totally agree. But as you and as in me, I know if I'm going to say a God-driven person. I know many of you didn't expect to attend church or mass this morning, but say I'm God-driven. I have to know how my opinions affect the larger group. And to me, it's always place and time. Is it the right place? And is it the right time? The main goal of the Democratic Party should be, I say main goal, there are probably many others, is to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. But if Democrats allow Trump to control the media narrative, then Democrats are unable to fully get their ideas out into the marketplace so that they can breathe. Because here's what you're fighting. According to statistics, numbers, the economy is doing well. But there's an economy within the economy that is not doing so well. And there's a debate in the Democratic Party as to how you can address that. Okay. And in previous shows, I've talked about the $15 minimum wage. It's out there. It's on another podcast, and it's on the Chairman Will. It's out there on YouTube. But anyway, that's a goal that the progressive wing of the Democrats are trying to achieve. Noble. Outstanding. But our goal should be to defeat Donald Trump 2020. If we don't have that goal, then we're not going to win this election. It's pretty simple. Because my major grievance is those numbers that are being shown to me, displayed right in front of my face on my screen, on my telephone, on my television, that the unemployment rate is whatever, under 3%. The stock market, of which that economy inside the economy may or not be able to participate in terms of what's offered to them at their compensation level. But we have, I don't know how many of it's now, how many candidates do we have now? I've lost count. I'll say 20. I think someone dropped out, and I'm very happy that he did. And to be quite honest with you, I'll be very happy when a few more decide that turning this corner in the election cycle, what you should look at, and I know they are looking at this, is the amount of money in terms of donations that I'm receiving, okay? Vis-a-vis the percentage of the polls that I am achieving. At some point in time, and there's an exception to this which I'll go over. At some point in time, if your donations and your percentage kind of come close to what your achievement level is. You know what I mean? So all you should do, and I have to digress a little bit, maybe this is a commercial, but if I'm going to use her music, I have to give her some respect. Just previous to this sound by Anita Baker called Fairy Tales, you were listening to The Climb. And we call her in my household the little lady with the big voice, Miley Cyrus. But back to the candidacy, funding, and percentage of achievement in the polls. If East is meeting West on those numbers, you're doing 1% in $1 million, okay? Kind of for a quarter or something like that, you know what I mean? It's time for you to, if you can figure that you'll catch fire. And a lot of the candidates want to turn that corner. Iowa, New Hampshire, they want to get down to South Carolina so bad, But what they don't realize is, the vacuum load on funding is going to be so heavy by the time you get to South Carolina, until you're going to be probably experiencing these same, waves, that you're battling. Because the further down you go, you're fighting name recognition, you're fighting charisma, you're fighting change, you're fighting all kind of things. And so if you're down here doing 1%, and you've really suffered because you've taken a beating in Iowa, a beating in New Hampshire, and now you want to think that Okay, let's go talk to some black folk down in South Carolina. But you've already, you know, shown that, wow, you're doing a 1%, dude. And you know, I'll say that again. You know that once you reach South Carolina, a large percentage of that black vote, pardon me, 1,000 parts, is going to go to some of the major candidates. And there's going to be very little left for you. So what you're doing now by being there is you're circumventing the process. You know, I mean, you're circumventing the process. I use an illustration sometimes of people who live in the city, metropolitan areas, and those who live in rural areas, because I know people very well in both segments of the population. I know the metropolitan area and I know the rural area that I live in. But if you live in a metropolitan area, and I say, like, you know, in my area, there is thousands and thousands of acres of land. It's just sitting there. Farmers in previous generations have farmed and farmed, passed it on, more farming, passed it on, more farming, passed it on, more farming. We were a part of the fabric of the American life. And you get to a point to where that next generation doesn't really want to farm. Don't do that, man. You don't know, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock even now, because you have lights on the tractors. And get out there and go to work. Don't want to do that, right? So you have all this large, huge amount, thousands and thousands of acres. And then in the metropolitan area, you have individuals and families who doesn't have a concept of there being another way of life. They're very smart, very articulate, but they haven't caught sight of the concept that I'm just holding it down here, man. And I have talent, I have wisdom, I have discernment, and I have gifts. And if I move to a rural area, you know, I could take control of my life, even if I had to commute back into the city. And so they're just there every day, sitting in traffic, you know, taking up space that others could be occupying, you know, creating longer lines in the grocery stores, supermarkets, clothing stores, and malls. So I'm just saying, you know, you need to get out, get up out of there, you know, and you'll take a down when you make that first move, but it's easier. You can plow your way back up. I believe that, firm believer. So I think at this point, you know, maybe we could, you know, lose 10 of those candidates. It's nice to have television exposure, but really, dude, or do this? Really? And once that's done, now those other 8, you know, those valuable ones, right? We know, you know, where we stand in terms of name recognition. And actually, it's making it easier for me as a voter, with my eye on the prize, to really, really think about who may really be able to beat Donald John Trump. And I mean, really, really beat. I'm not talking about a popular vote, because at that point, if he wins by the electoral vote and we lose by the electoral vote, he wins, and you win the popular vote, that's null and void. And I'm really not for, in a good and perfect world, meaning no gerrymandering and that kind of stuff. The idea of the electoral college, the basis for it, I think it was pretty sound before gerrymandering. So rather than attack attack the electoral college, I think we should be dealing heavily with gerrymandering. As former Attorney General Eric Holder and real President, real, I'm going to say that again, real President Barack Obama. So, once those 10 are out there and we're kind of really looking at them, you're still dealing with, because this moderate and progressive wing, like, what are you doing? When you really need to be focusing on beating Donald John Trump in 2020. So I look at each candidate and I flow all the way through them. And the one that disturbs me is one who raises a lot of money. But to me, given that other example of those one percenters, with $1 million, he'd say like 24 and he's doing like 7. Okay. To me, that's out of focus, for whatever reason, if someone's, plural, is willing to give you $24 million, but yet here you are, you're only doing 7%, man. There is something a bit out of kilter there, I'd say. And I think what we should do as a party, we should look at all of those 20 candidates and just express to the American people that this is a cabinet, okay? And focus on the smarts of that room, of those 20. Because one that I happen to think is extremely smart, extremely bright, is Miss Williamson. But, she'd have to blow something up before she catch a fire. And her views are sound. But it resonates on a one, not even a 1% level. And basically that 1% truly and accurately is a reflection of the other candidates who are in the race that are drawing from her percentages, if you understand what I'm saying. So I just don't think there's no one to save her. I really don't. I think she'll remain in that political wilderness until someone in this other group recognizes her as having the potential to be a strong cabinet member. Because basically I think her DNA says, I want to do it right. Whatever I do, I want to do it right. Basic premise. I like that about her. So I'll start from the top. The top is former Vice President, Joe Biden. And if you don't like Joe, there's a possibility that there could be something wrong with you. Joe is shake your hand, put his hand on your shoulder, look you in the eye. And let's face it, he's old school. You know, a lot in my way, I'm old school. Those values that you learn over a lifetime are important to you. If you want to live out those values and do the right thing. Besides being his mission, being a mission to become president of the United States, Joe's mission should also be, okay, I'm old school. And even being old school, you like me. And you know what I mean? Like I say, I'm old school. But here's what I'll promise. I promise to listen intently every day of my presidency to the American people, which includes those members of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Simple statement. Nothing wrong with that. So now, where can we travel? Let's go Elizabeth Warren. And so, in order to do that, I'm going to take Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and place them in the same category. The thing I love about Elizabeth, Senator Warren, I'll give her props and her respect. The thing that I love about her is she's got a policy for everything. You know what I mean? She's got a policy of actually going to bed early, waking up early, eating a good breakfast, and get out there on the stump. I like that about her. Got a policy for everything. But I just wonder, even if she can't make that pledge that the Vice President Biden can make, unless she's going to say, I promise to listen to the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. That's hard to say when you got a jillion policies written down and documented for people to see if they're interested. So it just makes you wonder, can she really say that? Senator Sanders won't say it. He is you're on my grass. I'm ready to fight rough and tumble. I'll fight dirty. And I'll pay you $15 an hour, but I'll cut your hours. I'm sorry. And now, I'll bring you to Senator Harris. Senator Kamala Harris, California, former prosecutor. And so I'll stop there. Here's what those people out there who want to kind of diss her a little bit, they would say, as prosecutor, didn't you put a whole lot of people away? And I've seen that question asked to her. And to tell you quite truthfully, she's able to pivot from that discussion or within that discussion and talk about what she did for victims' rights or early release or something like that. As an attorney general, she obviously knows the law. So now you have a person who's able to prosecute a case. She's very methodical. She's very gifted. She's extremely smart. And it's difficult to pin her down. I'm just using that phrase for lack of a better one, on whether or not she is a progressive or is she a moderate. When you see her speak, you don't get the, oh, she's a progressive girl. Oh, no, Nindiska. Can't have that. Nor do you get the impression that she's a staunch conservative or a moderate. She's able to talk about some things that could be important to you. But your question is, first of all, can she beat Donald Trump? And then after that hurdle, what kind of president would she be? Is the world really ready for Kamala Harris? Now, I happen to think the world is. I think she could repair a lot of that damage. I think Joe Biden could repair a lot of that damage. That's just what my thoughts tell me. But if you're one of those, and I see a lot of this, and on another podcast, Chairman Will was on Twitter and had this Twitter rant with these people who are very early in the process, said they have made up their mind as to who they're going to vote for. And from my standpoint, I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for. I have some leanings. And I know Joe Biden is qualified. I know Senator Warren can do it. Not quite as sure about Barney. And Kamala Harris is scary good. So these are the things that I know. And again, there are one, Cory Booker's good, a lot of good candidates. But it's a lot of those candidates who aren't able to beat Donald Trump. So if you're out there walking around thinking that, you're going to hold to your conservative or your moderate views or your progressive views, and somebody needs to tell the squad we need to work within this 2020 because you guys, representatives, every 2 years you're up. We don't want to lose that majority. We need to play small ball right now. That's just my opinion. We need to focus and keep our eyes on the prize. Because if we don't love this country well enough to change it, then yeah, maybe we should go home or something, I mean, maybe we should do something. We don't love this country well enough to say, there are 9 generations of my family, who are thinking about, who were here, and from over 400 years ago. But what I think we should do, okay, as black people, there's a comparison that we can make in terms of 400 years. Very easily found. One of the most widely published books in the, in the universe. And we will find out that, yeah, it was 400 years. Yeah, we were in bondage, but, then we came out of that, and then we went through Jim Crow, and then we went through Jane Crow, and then we went through this, bordering on being sing song. But anyway, we went through all of that. But I defy you. If one of those men and women who came over on that boat in chains in the 1600s could look up and see that from him makes me, I think he would consider that every generation lives for the next generation. Sometimes we undergo hardship. Sometimes we see lots of pain. Slavery was horrible. Racism is horrible. But I think if those people of my 9 generations could see what God's done for me, I think they would be proud. So my task is not to let them down, not to be a drag. It's time to march, time to move on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for coming in to visit, sitting down and talking with us. The only words I have for you today is positive peace in your life. The warm sharing with the loved one and going out and make it better. Thank you so much. I'm Chairman Will. We're out.